Hello folks, today we are sketching and I'm going to start with a couple of side views, do a couple of thumbnails, and then we'll take a thumbnail that we like best and just spin that to like a 3/4, do a quick sketch. This will be a quick demo, really just talking about how to get to an idea, and then we'll refine it later. You can check out my blog posts or on the Instagram to see the finished piece, but I want to show here how we start developing concepts quickly. So I'm going to do a number of side views, and a lot of the times, like at this very moment, I don't know what I'm going to sketch, but some type of a vehicle, and I'm thinking, what's the story? I think that's important. Without a story, you're kind of just shooting in the dark, but when you have a story, it can start to inform what you sketch. So I'm thinking about something like a tinier vehicle, like a little mini race van or something like that. Like there's a dude, and he's maybe delivering pizzas. So Pizza Hut had like an interesting concept, or somebody did a Pizza Hut concept car. So let's kind of riff off of that. What if Pizza Hut did a concept vehicle, but it was built for speed, right? A speed hut, right? The fastest delivery times on the planet, potentially in the universe. What might that look like? Probably not this, but we'll keep going, right? So we'll bust out a bunch of little thumbnails just to get through some of the ideas. And I start with side views to start to play around with the proportions and what works best. What's the most interesting. All right, so we're gonna have, you're gonna need a little box in the rear to house all these pizzas. And it's probably gonna be an electric motor of some sort, but maybe you've got like a wide body kit back here, or a little vent to cool off the brakes because you're flying through the city. So it's probably going to be a smaller vehicle if we're in an urban setting. So we want to consider that. So maybe a little bit taller, just kind of play with the proportions a bit. And I'm just going to bust through a number of these until I find something that I think works, right? But you see I'm just working through these really quickly. I'm using a black Prismacolor, kind of a staple in my art supply chest, because they're quick, they're simple, they're easy to use. They don't erase well, side note, so if you're trying to erase a bunch and correct stuff, don't use a wax-based medium like a Prisma. You want to use something like a charcoal base or something like that. And so this is weird, I don't like it, but moving on. So in the video, I'm going to fast forward through these sketches just to show you some of the process, right, and how I get to where I'm going, and then I will slow it back down when I start working into the front 3/4 once I find something that I like. If you want to see it in more manageable speed, you can slow down the play rate on the YouTube, on the video itself. Otherwise, you're going to see this speed up right about now. Okay, so I think I've kind of stumbled across an idea that's starting to work a bit. It's this smaller kind of pickup where, so I drew this figure here, and it's not really scaled well. Like, this is either a huge person or a super tiny vehicle. That's just off. But the idea is, all right, so maybe you've got this, ooh, you know what, maybe you don't even need this space for a human because this is autonomous. Right, so now this is just one large rolling oven, basically. So let's think about that. So you've got a little drone right here. It's like a drone housing. All right, so you've got all your pizzas stored back here. So maybe it goes and it parks. Right, so I don't know what the Pizza Hut logo looks like, but you know, whatever. Let's say there's a pizza box on the top here. So this isn't necessarily the fastest pizza delivery truck on the planet, like we initially discussed. It's kind of evolved into this just pizza dispensary hub. Right, so maybe this thing goes and parks somewhere, and is just making the pizzas wherever it is. Just kind of making the pizzas, and it doesn't come back in to the, you know, the brick and mortar, I'll say, until it's run out of supplies to make pizzas. So that's the idea. All right, maybe a little wacky, but I'm running with it. All right, so it parks, makes pizzas, and then the drone just will fly off and deliver them to people's doorsteps. Super fast response time. Maybe you have 2 or 3 of these in a particular area. Let's say on a game night, right? If it's a Super Bowl. And yeah, it's not the fastest speed-wise, but it's the fastest maybe efficiency-wise. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to run with this, I think. We'll sketch this out. Let me spin this around into a front 3/4, start working out some of the surfacing, give it a face. And again, just not really worried about a super refined sketch at this point, just trying to get the ideas out, because we can always come back and do an overlay later, correct some things that we think are a little wacky. Okay, so let's take this. I'll leave this up here for reference. Take a little break. Went to the baño. I'll be right back. Okay, so we are sharpened up, ready to go. So let's just, I'm gonna bust this out pretty quick here. You want to set a wheelbase. You've got about, 1, 2.5 wheels in between. So let's just set that up. I want to make sure I don't go off the paper if possible. I kind of set a baseline. I generally like to kind of set the perspective. 1, 2.5, right? So maybe the rear wheel is here. It's a little bit larger. Give it a bit more aggressive stance. And our front wheel will go stand over here. Right, and your rear wheel will be back here somewhere. Okay, but we're not going to see that. All right, so let's look at this side view sketch here. And so you've got some type of graphic center lines that come up like this. Kind of block this in. We're about, a 1.5 wheels high. So let's pay attention to that. Again, this is a quick sketch. Just want to get these on paper and we'll take these into Photoshop, clean them up a little bit, and again, we'll see that on the blog at a later date. Okay, so we got a truck bed here. Just kind of kicks up. Okay, right, so we're gonna have this spinning Pizza Hut on the top. I don't know, maybe it's it kind of looks like it's falling off the page a little bit, so let's tighten that up. All right, we have a corner there. This is a little boxy thing, you know, it's okay. Draw a section line. So this one, there is no glass per se on the side. Since it's autonomous, there's no person in there. It doesn't need, you don't need a window. But maybe there's some type of illuminated surface here where people can buy advertising space or something like that. Right, so we don't want to rule that out. So that surface will be available for that. I think that this portion's a little off to the side view. I think the side view's a little bit different, but it's okay. And you could plot out all your perspective points and, you know, project the corner, this corner to the other side based on, you know, off your center line. Very like Scott Robertson-esque. That's cool and effective. It's not what I'm doing here, but that is another technique. And again, you could find his work. He's got a number of books that you can purchase. I definitely recommend them. I've learned a lot from them. He talks, you know, How to Draw, How to Render by Scott Robertson are great tools. If this is something that, you know, you're serious about and want to learn more about technique in the science behind how we see, great books. That's a little drone pad. So the surface is cutting underneath. This kicks out a little bit. This will be a little light catcher. This rolls under. Going to be some surfaces we got to figure out here as we start to refine this design, but for now, we're going to need some kind of headlight. Right. Not necessarily for this particular vehicle, right? Like it won't need the headlight because there's nobody driving that needs to see it if it's autonomous. But other people will need to see where it is. So you're still going to need headlights, or at least until every other car on the road is autonomous, at which point headlights might be, I don't know, they'll be less useful, but I imagine we'll still have them for pedestrians crossing the street, so never mind. Headlights, they're still a thing. The future will still have headlights. We just decided that. You heard it here first on Draw. The future has headlights. And maybe it's got a little face, right? A little smile. He's like, hey, you know, his little goofy smile, but he's got a smile nonetheless. All right, it's Pizza Hut. People want to be happy. You don't want to go pick up your pizza from an angry truck, right? It's like going to buy pizza at the store, and the guy that's making the pizza is like, you know, pissed off. Like, dude, making pizzas, what are you mad about, you know? So, we're not going to have an angry pizza delivery truck, because that doesn't make any sense. Although, this is a weird face. I don't know. This might be a scared pizza delivery truck. I might have to figure that out. But the face is kind of an important part. I want it to have some type of expression. Alright, and here's the front wheel. Here's your outside wheel. Roundabouts placed there. So it's definitely got a little bit lower here in the front. This is all turned under, so we're going to have a shadow. Kind of looks like E.T. actually, which is odd, but again, I'm not really judging as I go. I'm just putting lines on paper. This is like Planet Fitness, the judgment-free zone. Sometimes you can switch up how you hold the pencil to make a different type of mark. Holding it like this allows you to make broader strokes. You can kind of block in areas more quickly, less precise per se, but it's a nice tool to start blocking in shapes. It just gives it a different look as well. You could always just switch back to holding it a different way if you need to get in more precise like that. And so let's just say we've got a twin prop drone with pizza box in tow. It's more of a rectangular pizza box, but hey, it's the future, you know, different type of pizza. And there's got some kind of blinking light up here. Gonna have all your little modules and the brains of this thing over here. And you could go through designing the drone as a project all in itself. So we're just gonna block something in just to get the point across. Right, you want to be conscious of where your core shadows are going to be. The lights kind of just shining down from an elevated front 3/4 position, I'll call it. And so the front will be more in shadow, slightly. This surface is turning up, so it won't be too dark, but maybe this is turning under here. Okay, a little fender flare here. You know, maybe it's got like a super fat rear tire. Not that it would need it, but we're going to add it anyway. All right, then drop some wheels in. This is a little quick 5-spoke. All right, I'm going to get a little light catching there. And just kind of map out where the shadow might fall. Same with the rear here. And I start to get a little heavier with the lines. They're not super accurate at this point. Again, I'm going to go through and clean these up later. You could always overlay this, which would probably be the next step before I took this into Photoshop. I would overlay this, tighten everything up, kind of resolve some of these surfaces that are not descript at this point. Because when you get into Photoshop, you do want to have an understanding of what's happening. Otherwise, you'll render something that isn't specific. Which, if you're trying to communicate a design, you want to at least have some idea of what you're communicating, which is also an important life skill, I would say. Have an idea of what you're saying if you want to communicate clearly to people. But part of the sketch, just like communication, is working through that to figure out, all right, what am I trying to say? Which is a valid question, generally. Again, not that you care what I'm thinking about, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So, there we go. I'm kind of liking this rear section. Granted, I don't know what's back there yet, but it's starting to be interesting. Oh, that could be cool. All right, what else do we got? You need to add a little Pizza Hut box spinning somehow. Let's try to make this one a little bit more accurate. So, your box. It's kind of in perspective here. So maybe you can see this front edge. It's got some thickness to it, right? And again, I don't know what the Pizza Hut logo looks like, but I think there's like some circles, right? Like little pepperonis. Pepperoni, pepperoni, pepperoni. Ha. You know, so this is pizza delivery in the 21st century. And then maybe in the background you got like, maybe you take this cutout and there's a scene. What do we got? Who's delivering this? I don't know, maybe it's like, let me just throw some shade down here while I think about that. You know, I'm just going to put a cityscape. A little skyline. You know, hint at, oh, this is an urban pizza delivery thing. You know, but that's part of telling the story. You want to use the image to communicate a story so that you want the image to speak for you as much as possible, for a number of reasons. One, so that people understand what's happening, even if you're not there to describe it. And if you are there presenting, sometimes if you haven't rehearsed your presentation or anything like that, you might forget what you're talking about, and you want to have an easy visual indicator of what you're talking about that you can reference throughout the presentation. So really, creating a good image is setting yourself up for success during presentations. Again, presentations and presenting, really important, and you'll have to do it a lot. And I will add some more detail to this little window cutout, the scene here, as I render this out later. But as a placeholder, there you go. Drop a little shadow there. Pizza.